Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include Bill Ramsey elected in the Burgeo-La Poile district. Premier Tobin was in town on Wednesday. This week, members of the Help Committee, Hospital Board Report. These stories and more coming up after this important message about drinking and driving. Please stay tuned.
Good beer.
There you go, buddy.
Thanks a lot, man. Keys.
Don't think so. Get the message. Use the cord.
Premier Tobin started his final day of campaigning before the February 22nd election day here in Burgeo. There were approximately 70 vehicles in the motorcade that awaited Premier Tobin's visit. Premier Tobin greeted the gathering before proceeding with the motorcade. During the drive around town, the Premier made a quick stop at the Calder Healthcare Centre. The kindergarten class were waiting outside the community centre to greet Premier Tobin and present him with a card.
Thank you all very much, and I'm going to make it very short and sweet. I'm sure you all didn't come here to see me.
Then Liberal candidate for the district of Burgeo-La Poile, Bill Ramsey, introduced the Premier to the gathering.
Who has distinguished himself nationwide and throughout the world. Some call him Captain Canada, some call him Mr. Newfoundland, some call him Mr. Liberal, others will call him Mr. Premier, but most of you, I'm sure, will just call him.
Some call me Mr. Peckford. Don't do it here this morning.
And some just call him Brian. And ladies and gentlemen and liberals, I want to introduce to you the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador and the next Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, Brian Tobin.
Thank you very much. You know, it's been a 25-day campaign, and for 25 days we've gotten up early every morning, and I've put on my boots and gone to work. And today's the last day of doing that, and I don't think it is possible, in fact I know it's not possible, that there could be a better place in all of this province, in all of Newfoundland and Labrador, and I could be shot in my own riding for saying this, but there isn't a better place in Newfoundland and Labrador to start the last day of the campaign 96 than right here in the community of Burgeo. I want to thank you all very much for coming out. And I want to tell you something. The very first election campaign that I was ever involved in myself, when I was a young assistant in the Liberal opposition office back in 1977 or 78, I'm trying to remember exactly when. Mr. Mayor, you might be able to help me out. Was it 79? 1979 was when I was down in Burgeo. I was here for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Stayed down in the old motel, room number 9. And I was involved in the election campaign, working with many members of the local community. It was on the John Nolan campaign. And I can tell you that even though the campaign didn't go well for John Nolan, Burgeo that time around, and I spent several weeks in the community, did go Liberal that time around, just as I'm confident that on tomorrow night when the result comes in, Bill Ramsey will know that he owes a great debt of gratitude and loyalty to the people of Burgeo, because I'm convinced, Bill, from what I've seen today, the people of Burgeo are going to put you back in the House of Assembly and will want you to serve with equal loyalty for the people of this community come tomorrow night when the polls close. Now I want to tell you something, because as I said, my first campaign experience was here in Burgeo. And by the way, back in those days when you got to rent a car and came down over the road, you had to sneak it back in the middle of the night. All the wheels were going this way. But I want to tell you, and I wanted to be here today to say this to you personally, that I know very well that no group of citizens in this province, in all of Newfoundland and Labrador, have stood with the Liberal Party more loyally, not just in good times when it's easy to be a Liberal, easy to stand when it's easy to be a Liberal, but no group of people have stood with us more loyally even in the tough times than the people of this community. And I want you to know that the Liberal Party of Newfoundland and Labrador that I lead is going to stand solidly with the people of Burgeo. I know some of you have been concerned and worried about the future of medical care in this facility. I want to tell you I'm a traditional Liberal in the traditional sense of the word. I believe that everybody in our society has a right to quality access, to quality education. We've got to make sure that our children have access to decent schools. And that's why I've said that the education reform is going to proceed. We're going to reduce the number of school boards from 27 down to 10. We're going to proceed with that because we can't put the dollars into school boards, into administration, into institutions. We've got to put it into the classroom where it can help our children. But on questions like school viability, that's going to be put on hold until we get it right, until the people of, in particular, rural Newfoundland and Labrador have a chance to comment. On health care, our citizens have a right to expect in not only this province, but in this country, Canada. We've distinguished ourselves by our liberal values, by the notion that no matter where you live, no matter what your circumstance, no matter what your background, you're entitled to good quality health care in this country. I don't want Canada to become a country like the United States, where the quality of the health care you get is dependent upon the size of your bank account or the size of your credit card. And that's why I don't mind saying to you here in Burgeo, any foolishness or nonsense about closing the medical facility in this town is just that. It's foolishness and nonsense. It's going to stay open and available to serve the people of Burgeo and Ramsey, Francois, Grey River and Grand Brett, and that won't change as long as I'm the Premier of
During a meeting with the FFAW Union Executive and Council following the rally, both the Premier and Mr. Ramsey committed to working with the various levels of government, Seafreeze, and the local union executive to try to get the local plant reopened. Premier Tobin's rally will be shown in its entirety on Tuesday. Thursday marked the end of the campaigning that we've grown accustomed to in recent weeks, as residents of Newfoundland and Labrador went to the polls to cast their vote. Ram 9 vote 7. H. MHA Bill Ramsey was in town on Friday for a victory party with his campaign workers here in Burgeo.
Thank you all very much. A real warm welcome and a real big thank you to the people here tonight, the people who got involved and did a fine job on behalf of all of the people in the district. Even though you all worked for the Liberal Party, you worked on behalf of everybody in this district in putting a Liberal member back into the House of Assembly. Forward to working with each and every one of you in the future, in the next over the next 4 to 5 years, as we try to do our best as Liberals and as dedicated people in the community to rebuilding Burgeo back to its previous glory. It's a big task, but I'm up to it, and I hope that each and every one of you are as well. I want to thank all of the people who got involved. First and foremost, I want to thank the people who came on board and acted as our campaign managers here in Burgeo. I want a big round of applause for Len and Jesse Matthews from each and every one of you did a fantastic job. Anyone who played a part in any way. I do have to single out 3 other people who've been, and I don't want to diminish anyone else's work in any way, but first and foremost to the people who opened their door and their house to us when we came here first. And that, of course, was Con and Millie Durnford, who have been fantastic. They've made their home our home. And of course, there's always one in a crowd. And of course, those in his family who support him too. And not just one in the crowd. Some call him the Energizer Bunny. And really, a fantastic fellow to work with. Seems to know everybody, and everybody knows him. And of course, every door we'd go to, I was greeted with "Oh my God, look who you got with you." But I tell you, it was fantastic because it was all in good fun. And Ernest, I don't think we could have done it without you either. Thank you very much. Great help, and certainly a fellow with the best interest of his community at heart, for sure. And to each and every one of you, the poll captains, the agents, the people who delivered things door to door, those of you who helped in any way, this is what teamwork is all about, and this is what we now, as a Liberal organization, have to go forward representing even those in the district who were not successful in supporting the Tories. They now, I think, will hopefully be able to come over and join us next time around if we do our job right, each and every one of you, and me as well. So I think that you all deserve a round of applause, and you can applaud yourself for sure. I certainly will, and I look forward to working with you all over the next while. And I'm only as good in my job as the information I get from each and every one of you. So I can do my job good if you fill me in on what needs to be done. And then it's a matter of taking and acting as your voice in the House of Assembly. So, and that's not just for the Liberals and Tories alike, but the Liberals are special to us because you guys put us over the top, and you guys did the fantastic job that needed to be done for the district of Burgeo-La Poile. I thank you, and the rest of the residents of Burgeo-La Poile, I'm sure, thank you all as well.
In addition to the election, this past week was also Winter Carnival Week here in Burgeo. Despite the lack of snow, there was still lots to get involved in. Here are highlights from a few of the events that BBS covered.
Oh, geez, your grandmother? No, Ron isn't her grandmother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Catch up with that, don't catch up with that. You don't need to wait.
Don't turn around and go back again.
Clear on in, everybody? Yes, sir. Well, good sign, bad sign. You have to go through. You got a haze, buddy. You got a flock here. Anything? Here you go, dear. Thank you very much. And who's the next one next?
Kevin Spencer.
Kevin Spencer. Second brother. Kevin Spencer.
Yeah,
$22. Way to go. Thank you very much.
man, I should kill
Oh, this.
What Mason did?
Take a picture good. Take a picture good. Oh, Kenny Rogers himself. Thank you very much for showing up. No, this ain't good. There you go there.
I-30. B5. B5. 831.
Stay with us. There's more of This Week in Review still to come.
Want beer?
Yeah, I'll have beer. There you go. Thanks. I'm okay, Julie. See you later.
Don't be a memory. Get the message. Use the quarter.
We informed you a few weeks back that Norm Marsden had been appointed to the hospital board. Here's Mr. Marsden now with a report following his first board meeting.
Good evening. On Saturday, February the 17th, I attended a joint meeting of the Western Healthcare Corporation Board and a Community Health Board. These are two boards that look after the health care in Western Newfoundland. I'd like to explain briefly the role of each of these two boards. A Community Health Board is responsible for planning, delivering, and evaluating the best possible system of community health services for the people of Western Newfoundland. This particular board, the Chief Executive Officer of this particular board is Dr. Minnie Wasmar in Corner Brook. The other board to which I had an appointment is the Western Healthcare Corporation Board. And this board is responsible for the operation of various institutions in Western Newfoundland. Now, such institutions that are included here would be the hospitals in Stephenville, Port-aux-Basques, Burgeo, Corner Brook, the Interfaith Home in Corner Brook, and probably others. And the Chief Executive Officer for this particular board is Dr. Harry Watts. And this is the board to which I had the appointment. Now, at this particular meeting, each of these two boards have developed over previous meetings a list of values, a framework for operation, or some guiding principles within which each board would carry out its activities. The purpose of this first meeting that I attended was to bring together these two boards and to see where we're going, to see the advantages and disadvantages of these two boards working together, to identify certain shared visions and values of each of these boards, and further to identify what's helping and what's hindering our working together, to enhance what is working or helping, and to plan some kind of action for what might be hindering or stop us from working together. Each of these two boards have developed what we call value statements. And what this is these statements show what each board believes in, what they are committed to, and what they stand for. And I might say that the value of each of these two boards, the Community Health Board and the Institutions Board, the values are very similar. The only difference is that one board is coming from a community perspective and the other one looks after the institutions. Later on in my report, I'll refer to the proposed cutbacks that created so much concern last month. But for now, I would just simply say that it's a dead issue. Each member of the Western Health Care Board, or any board as far as that goes, must believe in the value statements of that board. Many institutions such as schools, hospitals, churches, etc., have developed value statements or mission statements. They cannot, in all honesty and sincerity, make decisions that are contrary to what their value statements say. And I want to read just a few of the 19 value statements of the Institutions Board. Now, they are committed to being accountable in all that they do. In providing a service, they will consider the needs of all their customers as individual persons who have needs. Thirdly, the board will strive to provide continuously improved service quality. And I want to mention that one caller in particular on a recent phone-in conference here on BBS suggested that we try and find ways to upgrade the Burgeo Hospital rather than downsize it. And I believe that in these value statements there is room there to make provision for that. Fourthly, we provide equitable, appropriate services based on needs for all residents of the Western region. We will continually search for opportunities to improve how we provide our services. Very important value statement. We are committed to collaborating with our stakeholders prior to making decisions and to communicating decisions on a timely basis. We value local input. We will establish mechanisms to ensure local input is put into regional decision making. Now, nothing is guaranteed in life except death and taxes. But we have to believe that these value statements are worth more than the paper they're written on. We have to believe that they do provide an opportunity for input with respect to any decisions that might be made to health care in this area. In conclusion, I'd like to make reference to the suggestions or proposals on cutbacks. Mr. Kendall explained this in detail on BBS, and so my reference here will be brief. In the fall, government was making a desperate effort to balance the budget. They were facing a $200 million deficit. Now, the Departments of Health and Education and Welfare, these three departments, take a huge chunk out of the total budget for the province. The current budget allocated for this region is approximately $81 million. The government was expecting the different boards across the island to reduce their spending by 9%. And this would mean a reduction of $7.3 million. This expectation of government was unrealistic. And this is shown by the fact that even with such severe proposed cutbacks, they could only come up with a reduction of $4.8 million. Perhaps what was most unfair was that Burgeo, with a cut of $1.6 million, was losing far more than any other institution. I'm pleased to announce that the cutbacks was not an issue at this recent meeting. It was not on the agenda. It was not talked about among board members. In fact, it's a dead issue. The present government has gone on record during the campaign to ensure the public that there will be no further cutbacks in health care. Now, whether cutbacks will raise its ugly head and come back to haunt us sometime in the future is anybody's guess. At least for the present, we can feel a little secure. Thank you for listening. Good night.
I had an interview this past week with representatives of the HELP Committee concerning the results of their recent survey about alcohol and drug use amongst teenagers. Speaking with me in the studio today, I have John Butler and Kevin Dunphy, two members of the Burgeo HELP Committee. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you, Dave.
I understand that the HELP Committee has conducted a second survey on teenage drinking. What are some of the discoveries from both the surveys that you've conducted?
Well, I think before we get into the second survey, I'll just refresh, because it's been a couple of years since we came on with the results from the first survey. And of course, that got a lot to do with our second survey. So I'll just give you some of the results again from the first survey. We did the first survey, we surveyed all high school students from grade 7 to level 3. That included from age 12 to 18. And some of the outstanding findings that we've got from that survey are that at age 12, 50% of the children surveyed indicated that they've tried alcohol, and 9% continue. They claim to continue drinking. 12 to 70% of 70% of the 13-year-olds have tried drinking, and 41% continue to drink, according to the results. So you can see there's a big jump from age 12 to 13. 63% of all the teenagers in the survey report that they do drink. 71% drink more than once a month. 23% report being injured while drinking. 18% were passengers with a drinking driver. 17% have tried other drugs while drinking. And 47% say that their parents are aware of their drinking. So these are some of the more alarming results from the first survey. And of course, I guess John will fill you in on the results from the recent.
The results of the recent survey, Dave, what it's indicated is 86% of all of the drinking that the teenagers claim to do takes place on Friday nights. With that, 37% of this drinking that takes place on Friday nights, apparently the teenagers say they do it in unsupervised homes when the parents are away somewhere. Another 28% said that they'll do the drinking around the various locations that the teenagers hang out at on a Friday night, i.e. the different dances or possibly the hangout here in town. Steps have been taken on behalf of the Orangemen's Lodge and the Lions Club with their dances. The HELP Committee did contact them and pointed these problems out to them and the results. And they took a proactive approach where they decided to change their rules before an accident did happen. And with that, the health committee and the rest of the community has seen some decline, I guess you'd say, in some of the problems associated with Friday nights and the kids drinking.
So how are the kids reacting to the changes?
For the most part, the kids don't really seem to mind. Initially, there was a bit of a decline, apparently, in the attendance at some of the dances, but as of late, there's apparently been possibly even a bit of an increase. And one of the reasons is before, when there wasn't strict rules at these dances, some parents would not allow their teenagers to go to the dances. Now with the stricter rules, some of these parents are allowing these teenagers to go. Thus, you have the elevated attendance.
Okay, so what were the major results that you've accumulated from this survey?
Some of the major results was that 92% of the adults who were surveyed, they said they were very concerned about the drinking problem that was here in Burgeo. And with 92%, that's quite a high number. And with that, we felt that the problems could be solved if we have this many people that are interested.
So you mentioned what percentage was it that were found to be drinking at home? 37%? Okay, 37% say that drinking occurs in homes, right? In residents that are unattended. And so we suspect that such a high percentage of adults are concerned about the problem, that we should, if we did a survey again in a couple of years, which we probably will, we might see that number, we hope to see that number reduce because of the parents that are concerned about leaving their, not wanting to leave homes unattended and giving people the chance to.
Okay, if parents said that they're concerned that their kids are drinking in unsupervised homes, chances are they know which homes it is that their kids are drinking in. What can parents do to try to correct this problem?
I think it's something just as simple as being aware of where your teenager is going on Friday night. If they're saying they're going over to such and such a person's home, ask if their parents are going to be around, or if you hear that that particular parent is away for the weekend and your son or daughter is indicating that that's where they're planning to spend part of Friday night, maybe check up to make sure that there's supervision there.
I think if parents pull together and are aware, people are aware of the problems and where they're occurring, if people pull together, I think they could pretty well influence individuals not to leave their homes unattended.
Are results of the survey available to the general public?
They're available to anyone who wants them. All they'd have to do is get in touch with any member of the help committee, and we can track them down. I believe they were available for a little while after the survey. I'm not quite sure right now where they were, but the easiest thing would be to get in touch with any member of the help committee, and we can pass them along to them. Okay.
Is there anything else that either of you would like to add?
We never talked much about the solutions that we had in mind. Since the most recent survey, we've had since the first survey, we've had a number of workshops from Drug Dependency Services in Stevensville. They've come out and they've given us workshops on how to counsel people with drinking problems. The most recent one was a workshop to formulate a community action plan to kind of try to reduce the problem. And so one of the first steps was to do a survey like this, another survey, second survey, to find out what the town's perception of the problem was. And obviously, like 92% perceive it as a problem. So we found, that's one thing we discovered. The town does perceive it as a problem. They do want to fix it. So since then, we've also found out that most people perceive it as a problem that occurs at dances on Friday nights. So the lodge and the community center, Lions Club, have been contacted, and they were very cooperative, and we're seeing results there, positive results. As well, we're going to have our peer counselors are going to be involved in March in an awareness program offered by Drug Dependency. They're coming to Burgeo for 2 days, and they'll offer the peers a workshop which will enable the peers to go out and deliver workshops to other youths, to peer counselors, pardon me. Other than that, it seems that the perception from the survey is that 28% feel that teenagers need more to do in the community. So we need solutions there. We need help there in creating more activities, I think, for youth to get involved in. And the other two results that we have here, 23% suggest more parental control as a solution, and 17% suggested more RCMP patrol, which is, which has been addressed.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I suppose the biggest thing that the Health Committee would like to point out is that it's a problem that's occurring here in the community, and it's a bit of a community problem. So the community itself has to step up and try to solve this problem. Now, there has been some great steps, as we said, with the recent changes of the rules at the various teenage dances, which is a very good thing. But it comes back to 86% of this stuff occurs on Friday nights. So it's one night. If parents could just be a bit more vigilant and a little more aware of where their teenagers are and what they're doing, then I definitely think we'd see quite a reduction in this problem, and hopefully the reduction can occur before somebody gets hurt.
Okay. Well, we'd like to thank you for coming in and speaking with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our guests today are John Butler and Kevin Dunphy from Burgeo Health Committee. Stay with us. There's more of This Week in Review still to come.
I can't believe I let this happen.
Get the message. Use the quarter.
Off the rack. Usually the Lions snowmobile ride for the Max Sims Camp and other worthwhile charities is scheduled for around the last weekend in February, which would be this weekend. As you can see, this week as we scanned our tape racks, we came across footage of the first Lions snowmobile trip to Holt Brook.
Way, and there's still, we don't see the last one coming yet, but we've got a total of approximately 73 skidoos, and it's a fantastic morning. Like I said earlier, it's minus 10 degrees, and there's a very little wind from the west, and right now at this time it seems like it's going to be a super day.
BBS Playbill. Tune in Tuesday at 7 for the Premier's visit in its entirety. This will be followed at 8 p.m. by BBS West Viking College Educational Television. Join us on Wednesday for the RBP TV Bingo. This will be followed by a service from St. John the Evangelist Church. Join us on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. for Welcome to the War Amps Key Tag service. This will be followed at 8 p.m. by BBS West Viking College Educational Television. And of course, Pansy, Marie, and Melissa will be here again at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I'll be here again next week with This Week in Review. Next week's program will be followed by Up the Shack, featuring Todd Carroll from our friends at Ramsey Broadcasting. For This Week in Review, I'm Dave Cooper. Good night.